Keanu Reeves stared out the window of his dimly lit hotel room, the rain streaking down the glass like tears. The eerie silence was broken only by the faint hum of the city below, a strange contrast to the vibrant energy of Tokyo during the day. He had arrived 2 nights ago to begin shooting his latest movie, a supernatural thriller set in the heart of Japan. Little did he know, the line between fiction and reality was about to blur in ways he could never have imagined. It started with the sound of footsteps. At first, he dismissed them as the echoes of late-night staff walking through the hallways. But by the second night, the footsteps seemed to grow louder, more deliberate, and unmistakably close. They always stopped right outside his door, determined to confront the source. Keanu threw open the door late one night, only to find an empty hallway. "Okay," he muttered to himself, shaking his head. "Maybe I've been reading too many scripts." But things escalated. Lights flickered without reason. Shadows danced in corners where there was no light. And his dreams were plagued by vivid images of a young woman in a white kimono, her face obscured by flowing black hair. She didn't speak, but her presence left a lingering sadness that he couldn't shake off even after waking. The eeriness of the situation brought back a buried memory from his childhood. He remembered being around 9 years old, living in an old house in Toronto. One night, while he was lying in bed, he saw something unusual in the hallway outside his room. A jacket. Not just any jacket, but one that seemed to walk on its own, moving silently from one end of the corridor to the other. Young Keanu had frozen in terror, unable to scream or even breathe properly. By the time he mustered the courage to check, the hallway was empty, and the jacket had vanished. Though his family brushed it off as an overactive imagination, the image stayed with him, an unsolved mystery of his youth. Now, decades later, the experience at the hotel rekindled those feelings of helpless awe. One particularly restless night, Keanu decided to investigate. Armed with a flashlight and the resolve of a man who'd faced countless on-screen horrors, he ventured into the hotel's lower levels. The air grew colder with every step, and the once polished tiles became dusty and cracked. He found himself standing in front of an old, rusted door marked "Staff Only." Inside, the room was a time capsule. Old furniture, faded photographs, and a single journal rested on a desk. Flipping through its pages, Keanu's heart sank. The journal belonged to a maid named Yumi, who had worked at the hotel decades ago. Her entries detailed unrequited love for a guest who never noticed her, followed by a tragic ending: she had taken her own life in that very room. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind him, and the flashlight flickered. Keanu's breath quickened as the temperature dropped further. And then she appeared. The woman from his dreams stood before him, her eyes filled with sorrow. "Why are you here?" he asked softly, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. Her form flickered like a dying flame, and then she pointed to the journal. At that moment, Keanu understood. She wasn't trying to harm him. She wanted her story to be heard. "You wrote this?" he asked, holding up the journal. Yumi nodded, her gaze lingering on the pages. "You were in so much pain," Keanu said gently. "I'm sorry no one noticed what you were going through." Yumi's translucent form moved closer, her hand hovering over the journal. For a moment, Keanu thought he saw tears glistening in her spectral eyes. She whispered, her voice barely audible, "I wanted someone to know." "I'll make sure they do," Keanu promised. "Your story won't be forgotten." Her figure dissolved into a warm glow, and the room returned to normal. But the experience stayed with him, etched into his mind. The next day, while on set, Keanu found his mind drifting back to the events of the night before. His co-star, a local Japanese actor named Hiroshi, noticed his distraction and asked, "Is everything okay, Keanu? You seem preoccupied." Keanu hesitated but decided to confide in him. "Last night, something strange happened. I think I saw a ghost. Or maybe I'm losing it." Hiroshi's eyes widened. "In the hotel?" Keanu nodded. "Yeah. She's been appearing in my dreams. And then last night, I found this old journal in a hidden room. It belonged to a maid named Yumi. Do you know anything about her?" Hiroshi leaned in, lowering his voice. "That hotel has a dark history. It's famous for being haunted. Many staff and guests have reported seeing or hearing strange things over the years." "Yumi? Yes. I've heard of her. She was in love with a foreign businessman who stayed there often. When he left without saying goodbye, she was heartbroken. They say he hesitated, searching for the right words. She couldn't handle the pain. Keanu's expression softened. It's tragic. She seemed so lost. You're not the first person to encounter her, Hiroshi said. Some people are terrified to stay there. One couple even checked out in the middle of the night after seeing a shadowy figure in their room. Later that day, Keanu sought out the hotel manager to learn more. I found this journal, he said, placing it on the manager's desk. It belonged to Yumi. She's been appearing to me. Can you tell me more about her? The manager's face grew somber. Yumi was one of our best employees many years ago. She was always kind and hardworking, but she kept to herself. When the businessman she cared for left, she fell into despair. We tried to help her, but he sighed. We didn't see the signs until it was too late. Her death was a tragedy, and many believe her spirit lingers because she feels forgotten. She doesn't want to be forgotten, Keanu said. She wants her story to be heard. The manager nodded slowly. We've thought about commemorating her, but it's complicated. Not everyone believes in ghosts, and we didn't want to scare away guests. Then let's do it in a way that honors her, Keanu suggested. A plaque, maybe. Something subtle but meaningful. People should know she existed and mattered. The manager agreed, and together, they planned a small memorial for Yumi. Moved by her plight, Keanu decided to do more. He anonymously donated to a foundation supporting mental health awareness in Japan, inspired by her tragic life. On his final night in the hotel, Keanu slept peacefully for the first time. In his dream, Yumi appeared once more, but this time, she was smiling. As the morning sun broke through the clouds, he felt a sense of peace, as though he'd not only laid a restless spirit to rest, but also gained a deeper understanding of the invisible struggles people carry. As the plane soared into the sky, taking him back to Hollywood, Keanu couldn't help but reflect. Sometimes even the most unexpected encounters can teach us profound lessons. And in this case, it was a reminder to look beyond the surface because every soul, living or departed, has a story worth hearing.